been having dreams, splashing in the summer street, tripping, I fall in. I wanted it to happen.